Idiot, I am.
Yeah.
All right.
And can you let me in?
You hold me, homies.
Can
Me
you
mateys.
Can you let me in?
Can I let you in?
Yeah, let me in the car too.
Oh my gosh.
Alright, let me in.
We're not really about to get on that.
I'm already in.
Okay. So,
Yes.
here we are, everybody, in the club. First thing we're going to do is we're going to refresh the story elements. Braden, give me an element that should be in every story.
Setting.
Setting. Got to have some setting. Plot is one. Setting. Plot.
Character stuff.
Character. Characterization. Jackson. Rising action. So that's part of the plot, ma'am. Climax. That's the end of the plot, right? Huh?
Isn't there one that starts with a C?
Yes, it's C-O-N.
It's like
It's
Characterization. Plot. Setting.
Oh, conflict.
Conflict.
There we go.
Gotta have some conflict, all right? Resolution is the end. At the end, we've got to resolve this story some way. Even if we're ending on a cliffhanger, the story's still got to resolve, all right? Jamie and I watched a very interesting movie. Stephen King's got a movie out now called A Good Marriage.
No.
Wow. It's about a serial killer and this couple who's married.
Wait, is this real? Or is it like
Oh.
Oh. I thought you were just making something up.
I'm so glad she's in this class. I love it so much more when you're in here. So, so Stephen King, it's a Stephen King movie. Okay, everybody knows Stephen King, right?
No.
What's his big movie?
Jaws.
It?
The Mist.
Jaws? Is Jaws Stephen King?
Yeah, no, you did Jaws.
Are you kidding me? Stephen King wrote Jaws?
Yeah, no, I wrote Jaws.
Oh.
Look it up.
Google that and Google that and make sure.
Hey Siri.
Are you right,
I forgot what was up.
sir?
The Mist.
Huh?
The Mist.
The Mist is one, yeah. It? You watched it? That's Stephen King. The Stand.
So is he a scary person writer?
Yeah.
I need to know that.
Or weird, you know, the freaky weird. Okay. So like this, A Good Marriage, we just watched it the other night, it's not a scary, but it's a thriller. Okay. So it's intense because there's a serial killer, and there's this married couple, and man, when it ended, we were like, what in the? Of course, the way Stephen King ends movies is always weird. I mean, there's just always weird endings, and you're like, what? That's the end? The movie's over? Oh my gosh. It's
What's the movie?
crazy.
He wrote a lot of movies.
Huh?
What's the name of the movie?
A Good Marriage.
A
Good Marriage.
Yeah,
Oh, it's weird.
He did
It's weird.
Christmas
But-
is it good?
Yeah, we liked it. It was good. But when I'm talking about resolution, resolution doesn't mean a happy ending. Resolution means the way things get resolved, the way it works itself out. Okay, and if you watch A Good Marriage, you'll see things work out okay. Pay attention if you watch A Good Marriage. Pay attention to the the little movie descriptor, like on Netflix, the little movie descriptor, the way it describes the movie. Pay attention to what you read because it matters. It really matters. So, when you write Jeremy and the Magic Lobster, you can see how when they wrote Jeremy and the Magic Lobster, where is it? We've got all of those elements are in this story. All right, we've got all those elements. All of this is the set. Well, here's a major amount of the setting, and then the story. Doesn't the story start right there? So here's the setting. The story starts one day. Now you don't have to use the words one day, but that's how they used it. One day, he goes walking, and next thing you know, he's at home after finding some horseshoe crabs, wandering around the shoreline. He goes home, and his mom's cooking dinner, and there's these lobsters, and the story's going. Okay, so there's setting. We've got a plot. We don't get to the plot until right here, right? There's the plot. This lobster that's saying, "Hey, don't let me be eaten. You know, I'm magic. I'll give you wishes. I'll do whatever you want." Now we've got the plot. This boy. It's a story about a boy and a lobster who says he's magic and will give him stuff. Okay, so there's our plot. What's the conflict in the story, Larry? What's the conflict?
Not the lobster's not magic.
Yeah, A, the lobster's not magic, and B,
The kid wants a chip or something like that.
so but what's the conflict? A's not only is he not magic,
He's a liar.
he's a liar. I mean, he's lying the whole time. And so the conflict is this boy who saves this lobster, and this lobster continually deceives him. And so that's our conflict. What's the climax or the rising action? What's the rising action throughout this story? Stephen?
It is him losing his patience with the lobster.
Yeah, the rising action is, one lie after another, and he's losing his patience that, man, you keep telling me you can do this and you can't do it. What's the climax, Aiden? What's the climax to the story?
When he kicks the lobster, I don't think he does it back in the ocean, right?
Well, when he kicks him back into the ocean, that's the resolution, right? That's how he resolves it. So right before that, what happens right before that? What's the climax?
He figures out that he's lying to him.
Finally figures out he's lying to me, and what does he do?
Takes him and throws him in the
Yeah,
ocean.
before he throws him,
Oh.
he grabs, he's mad at him, and he grabs a hold of him, and then now the resolution comes. He's running to the ocean. He's about to throw him in and resolve the conflict. Okay?
Why didn't he just cook it?
Huh?
Yeah, why did he just
Yeah.
make it?
Why didn't he? Why didn't he? I mean, of course, I guess you could rewrite the ending of the story, and it could be that he, decides to cook it. And we could have had a real tragic story where he's screaming in the pot. Those lobster screams till his beady little eyes pop from the heat. That would be cool. That'd have been a Stephen King story. But then actually he wouldn't have died if it was a Stephen King story. He got out of the pot somehow. Lobster burned all over and slunk off into the woods.
And then snipped his fingers off. And then,
Yeah. Got rid of his claws. Yeah. So, all right. Are you ready to read some of your stories?
No. Okay.
Yeah, everybody. Hey, should we pick somebody online and read their story?
Yeah.
Hey, Coach,
Do Taylor.
Coach Mark, can you let me in? Hi.
Let you
I
in.
logged out, yeah.
Okay. So Dominic wants in, so why don't we read his?
What?
We could do that.
Do Taylor.
Wait, you talking about the one that we wrote?
Yeah, Jeremy. The Jeremy story. Everybody wrote that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I think
yeah, I
we
did.
wrote it
I did.
wrong. We
Huh?
wrote it in the third
Oh,
person.
yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, some people wrote it in third person.
Yeah.
And that's why we made that correction, that make sure that you're listening very closely to what perspective you need to be writing from. Because obviously that would be real important if we were taking the EOC and they said, write from this perspective. You got to write from that perspective, okay? And when we do Swamp Molly here in a minute, you're going to have to write from Swamp Molly, from the perspective of Swamp Molly. Or I guess I could let you be Johnny B as well. I'll give you your choice. I'll let you be either or. All right. Anybody want to volunteer?
You already picked me.
All right, I already picked you. All right, Dominic.
And yes, I would like to volunteer.
You would like to volunteer?
I'm videoing it for you, just so you know. Like,
Oh,
in
right.
case-
Oh, we got multiple videos going on?
Yeah. I got a cool video.
Wait, what are you videoing it
I mean,
on?
you can't see the board. It's
Where's
just
your
white.
phone?
You want to see the Moto G8, baby?
Motorola G8.
All right, Dominic, tell me your last name again. Why? I can't remember that. I'll see y'all in that. All right, here we go. Let's see what he's got. I was living off the coast of Coney Island when all of a sudden there was a huge net that had swept down from the top of the ocean. I tried to swim out of the way of the net, but it was so fast I couldn't get out of the way. before I knew it, I was in a dark, enclosed space with other lobsters. It felt like an eternity being in that case, but the people that captured me were pulling me out of the box. I tried all I could to pinch him, but I couldn't move my claws. Later, I was sitting in a box with two other lobsters, and this guy had come by my box and took one of the other lobsters near me. A few days had passed, so far, has he said anything that's in conflict with our story? No, there's nothing in conflict here. Is any of this in the story?
No.
It's not in the story, right? But it wouldn't be in the story, really, right? Because the story was written from whose perspective?
Jeremy, the narrator.
The narrator is writing it from Jeremy's perspective, okay? In other words, it's like the narrator is watching Jeremy. And so he's telling us about Jeremy. Jeremy's the subject. He doesn't tell us where the lobster grows up. He probably doesn't know. But he's telling us about Jeremy. But if you are the lobster, then you're going to be telling us stuff that's setting to build out what's going on that we don't know.
Oh, and I changed the title.
Oh, you can. Oh, let's do that.
Abduction.
Abduction.
Yep.
Okay. Abduction. So this is his abduction story. So he lied to save himself. You know, part of getting free, I guess. So a few days had passed, and they put another lobster in my tank. All of a sudden, I was being picked up from the case by a fat lady, and the two other lobsters were coming with me. I was so frustrated. I was another dark box. I was in another dark box. Until I was brought into a house and put on the counter by the fat lady. So, nice though, right? So, when you're writing this way, you want to make sure that you're paying very close attention to the details that are in the story, so that the important details, or the ones y'all laughed at that, it's an important detail because it's humorous, that you pull those details into your story so that it's clear that the story that lobster's telling is the same story that the narrator told. You're demonstrating to the reader, I picked up on all these details. Fat lady, I was being dried up. I can't be out of water for a long time. This kid had come by me and inspected me and the other lobsters and picked me up. Now, does it say you picked him up? I don't remember. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Said he walked past and it said something to him, right?
Jeremy picked it up. Yeah. Jeremy picked it up and looked into its beady lobster eyes.
I had to put beady eyes. I didn't like that.
I needed salt water sooner or I would die. I had to do something. Okay? Hey boss, the lobster, get me out of this jam. Oh, he made a mistake, didn't he? Right here it says, hey boss, the lobster whispered. Is that the lobster writing that? What would the lobster have said? I said. Hey boss, I said.
Oh yeah.
See that?
I didn't think we had to change that at all.
Well, you would have to, right?
No.
The story is being told from the lobster's perspective. That's not the lobster's perspective, right?
Well, what if he liked
That's a
talking about
narrator's
himself in the third
perspective
person?
of the lobster.
What if he liked talking about himself in the third person?
I don't think that's what's going on here. Get me out of this jam. Jeremy, startled, nearly dropped the lobster. So that would be a weird comment too, don't you think?
He doesn't know Jeremy.
He doesn't know Jeremy. The
Yeah.
kid said it.
I didn't
Okay.
change any of the dialogue.
Oh, you didn't change anything. All right.
None of it.
So did everybody else change the dialogue? Change the dialogue? Good.
Yeah.
So let's go look at where's Stephen's? Stephen, what's your last name? Smith. Mr. Smith. Y'all know what movie that is?
Oh, I made a
Oh, Mr.
separate file for that.
Oh, you're not in. Oh, it's not in your
No,
portfolio.
no, okay.
Copy and paste it and put it in there. That's where I'll need to be able to see it. Larry Stalins, is yours in there? Yorn in there? I used to live in Russia. Look at there. As an experiment for this doctor. Ooh, wow. Man, Jeremy's in the lobster's in a much different predicament here. They said that I would be smart and able to speak and have magic powers. What's important about the setting that Stalins is already dealing with? That he can
Russia.
talk.
Oh.
Okay? They said that I would be smart and able to speak and have magic powers. However, I never got magic powers, so that was a bust. So they threw me back in the sea. After about a week, a fishing boat caught me and put me in a good dang cage. They then put us in a store or butcher place. It reeked of death. I laughed at some of my brothers and sisters. Death. One just got thrown into a wall. It was funny. When this fat old lady picked me up and bought me, I was displeased. No one buys Lagovo. What's
it means it's Russian for liar.
It's Russian for what?
Liar.
Oh, it's Russian for liar. Oh, nice. No one buys liars. Then a little boy picked me up now. He looked at my shell claws and everything. I'm going to speak his weird tongue. Hey, boss, I whispered, get me out of this jam and I'll definitely make it worth your while. The stupid kid almost dropped me. Nice. Does it tell us that?
Yeah.
Jeremy Stark nearly dropped the lobster. Nice detail. Stupid kid almost dropped me. Keep your cool, kid. The fat lady over there might be watching us. Hey, that's my mother. Ah, you made a mistake. You see it?
Oh, yeah.
You said Jeremy. You don't know his name's Jeremy yet. Unless you had said, do they actually introduce each other?
No.
Not yet.
Do they ever tell each other their names?
I think so.
Yeah, so you would have to just say something like, how could the lobster learn that's his name?
A name tag.
God dang, man. The kid was wearing a name tag.
I heard the mama say it.
Yeah, or his mom say it. You could have built it in that way.
Oh,
Okay.
that's easy.
Hey, that's my mother, Jeremy said. Oops, sorry, listen, boss, you look smart. Think of something fast. Get me out of here. The kid asked fast. He started to pet me like some sort of cat and carried me to his fat old mom. Mama, this is the most amazing, beautiful lobster I've ever seen. Would it be all right if I kept him as a pet and had a sardine sandwich for dinner instead? His mom gave him the most hilarious face of all time. But Jeremy, you love lobster. I got them especially for you. Okay? And that's where it ends. So the story can end there. Okay? Good job. All right? So this is what you're trying to do. And you're trying to pull in as many details. If you're being scored on the EOC test, what they're doing is they've got a 4-point rubric where you can make a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. 4 is the best you can make. 4 means you're using many details. You're effectively using setting, okay? So you want to build, you actually got to sit and think for a minute, what all settings should we expect in this, okay? Stalin's picked up on a good one. Well, wait a minute. Might be a good idea for me to explain from the lobster's point of view how this lobster can talk. It's a good way to bring it in. That mom's fat, that he almost dropped him. All these details are what's making your score go higher, and it's just demonstrating that you're a very observant reader. Okay, so when you reproduce this stuff, reproduce it that way. I think I did one. So I said I'm from the west side, you know, I'm a Cali crustacean off the coast of LA is where I grew up. Same kind of stuff I'm doing as you guys. I'm just making up a story for the lobster that would make sense of his things.
Why are there so many errors?
Well, is that an error? Yeah, see, that should be one word. Manster's because I made up a word. English is because I didn't capitalize it.
Even a pro can make mistakes.
Yeah.
We learn from our
Well,
mistakes.
I'm typing fast.
Well, I was even fast.
Oh my God.
So, you're pulling in all these details. Now, the next story you're going to do is a story called Swamp Molly. Swamp Molly is a story that I made up when my boys were kids. So when they were real little, I would put them to bed at night and I would tell them different stories. In fact, we're now writing those stories to produce a book of children's bedtime stories, or anytime stories, I guess. I'm not sure what to call them, bedtime stories. Well, I always told them at bedtime, and I just made them up. So I made up a story. I made up a story about these Indians called Dirtbags. Their names were Dirtbags and Dusty Bottoms. And they were always trying to catch this horse called Windwalker. And you could tell the horse was real smart, but the Indians were real dumb. So these dumb adventures, these dumb Indians trying to catch this real smart horse, and the horse always won. And so I did one about Fandango Frog, the fastest frog in Sweet Swamp. He's got a lot of adventures. And then I did one, I actually did two different storylines. There's a Swamp Molly storyline, and there's a series of stories about Johnny B. Johnny B always was fighting all kind of creatures. Johnny B and the Wampuses, Johnny B and the Catamonga, Johnny B and the Jawdon. And so then one day, after all these Swamp Molly scary stories I tell my kids, I just make them cry at night with scary stories about Swamp Molly.
Nice.
Then I thought, wait a minute, Johnny B needs to go into Swamp Molly Swamp.
It's a person, right? John.
Huh?
It's a person named John B. or something like that. Show, right? A series.
Oh, there is?
I think. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, what?
Outer Banks.
Outer Banks. I ain't never watched Outer
Yeah.
Banks. Where did I get Johnny B? Because I'm a dad telling stories to his son.
Johnny Depp.
No,
Your son's,
that's a good one though. That's a good
Your
guess.
son's name.
Johnny B.
That's your.
Remember, I'm old.
Oh.
You remember a song?
No.
Johnny B. What? What?
Is it like a? Is it a Christmas
What is
carol?
wrong with you people?
Probably. You people.
What is wrong
We're not old.
with
We're
you?
not 50.
Pathetic human beings.
Oh.
Oh no, I don't know. Oh, how do
Don't tell me you don't know this song.
I know.
You know the song now?
Deep down in Louisiana, close to New Orleans, way back up in the woods among the evergreens.
We don't
The
remember
shooter
these
log
songs.
cabin made of earth and wood. Where lived a country boy named Johnny B.
Johnny who?
Never learned to read and write so well, but he could play a guitar just like a ringing a bell. Go, go. Go, Johnny, go.
Johnny Be Good.
Go, Johnny,
What did I want my kids to be?
Bad.
Go, Johnny, go.
Huh? That's Chuck Berry.
Johnny be good.
You don't know Chuck Berry?
He used to carry his guitar in a gunny sack.
He was.
Beneath the tree.
You've never even seen him?
No.
Man, y'all gotta get it. This is education right here,
Yeah,
y'all.
like that. What's his name?
It's education happening right here. Good Lord have mercy. My kids don't even know Johnny Be Good. Y'all never seen him in concert?
Nope.
Johnny B. Good.
The only thing that song sounds like is the song from Home Alone.
Oh. What's his most popular song?
This is it.
When it comes to rewards
Okay.
credit cards, there's good, there's better, and then there's Cash Plus. Get 5% cash back, a $200 cash bonus, and more, all with no annual fee. Get Cash Plus.
Deep down in Louisiana, close to New Orleans, way back up in the woods among the evergreens.
I still
The
want it.
log cabin made of earth and wood. Where lived a country boy named Johnny B. Good, who never learned to read or write as well, but he could play a guitar just like a ringing a bell. Go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go.
Now you've learned
Go,
something.
Johnny, go, go.
Can't wait to go home and tell your mom, right?
Johnny, go, go.
Y'all never seen him go across the stage with his guitar?
Whoa, Johnny B.
Sing that.
I'm like carry a guitar and a gunny sack. Beneath the tree by the railroad track. Oh, land and then see him.
Nobody can play guitar like Johnny. I mean, like Chuck Berry. music was music now.
I
When,
can play
when
guitar
is
like
music
him.
not
Music.
You
music?
can play guitar like him.
All the people I know from
Bet
before
you
I
can.
was born is Tupac.
I thought he was like the one
Michael
talking about like.
It looks like he has
Well,
no teeth.
This is back in 1958.
Oh,
I thought this was the one talking about like going down to the country or whatever. You know that one?
Going down to the country.
So you can say where you want to go. You know.
I'm confused.
I am too.
Wait, did he have teeth? It looked like he had like no teeth.
Yeah, he did have teeth, but later on in life he did lose them, but I don't think he's lost them by now.
Cause they looked like it was like he had more like every other one.
Oh, it's hot.
He didn't need them. Man, he was good. Man, he was good.
Yeah.
All right. So, why did I tell all that? Oh, because I wanted my children to be good boys. So I made up a line of stories about a little boy named Johnny B. Who's, guess what his mom and daddy wanted him to be?
Oh, he wanted me bad.
They wanted him to be Johnny B. Good. So all my stories, the way they resolved themselves was with, the conflict was Johnny B. was told that, you need to do this. And Johnny B. wouldn't do it. And Johnny B. would get in trouble. And he would get in his, between a rock and a hard place. And eventually he'd get out of it. And he'd have to learn the lesson. Man, I don't need to go in them woods no more. There's a jawline in there. There's a catamonga. There's a wampus.
What?
They were monsters I made up. A wampus.
Oh.
You know what a wampus is?
I mean, it's a monster that you
So
made up.
you don't want to make one. I made up a monster.
What did
How
it
would
look
we
like?
know?
So then I made up another whole set of story about Swamp Molly.